Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Danny and Courtney Talk About. I'm Danny, and with me, as always, is.
Courtney, also known as Potter Court.
And as always, it's wonderful for you to join me. So today we are going to look at Pixar's most recent animated feature, which is about the little voices in our heads. And that movie is called Inside Out. Now, Courtney, would you mind telling everyone what it's about?
Inside Out tells the story of a little girl named Riley and how she and her family moved from Minnesota to San Francisco, and her difficulty trying to adjust. Set mostly inside Riley's mind and told through the point of view of her five emotions: joy, sadness, disgust, fear, and anger. While these events are taking place, joy and sadness get into a disagreement with one another over Riley's core memories, which cause them to get lost inside Riley's long term memories. While they're lost, anger, fear, and disgust try to take control of things and make Riley happy, which only makes things worse. Thus, joy and sadness have to get back to headquarters before a big mental breakdown occurs. Along the way, they explore many areas of Riley's mind, meet up with an old imaginary friend named Bing Bong, and ultimately, joy and sadness come to realize how important they both are for Riley's mental health.
So, yep, that's the story as a whole in a nutshell. Take your pick. So, I don't know if there's very much history about this movie. All I know is that I think a while ago, Pixar had wanted to do a movie about the human emotions, and I think actually for a while people were kind of worried about this movie because for a short while Pixar had not been doing movies up to their normal like standards. Like the previous three films they did not reach their usual 90% or above on Rotten Tomatoes score. But still, I think it was everyone went in with an open mind. You see what I did there, Courtney?
Yeah, puns.
Um, and they went to check it out, and that's what we did. So, Courtney, let's start with you. Well, what did you think of Inside Out?
I absolutely loved this movie. I loved seeing the different emotions like react with one another and how they each have a part in like Riley's mind, and I liked how the journey joy and sadness went, and then like there was that the other half where disgust, fear, and anger try to take over Riley's mind, and as a result it turns out awful. And yeah, it was a fun movie overall.
Yeah, now I had said in my most recent video, the Q&A video, that I had seen this movie and I did really like it, and yes, I still stand by it. I think this movie is very good. I think it is definitely up to Pixar's old standards, and yeah, I thought it was very clever with how they handled the workings of the human mind. You know, there's a lot of clever stuff about it that once you think about it, you see what I did there?
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
it's very clever. Although I do have to be honest, the more I do think about it, that one wasn't intentional, by the way. Um, there are some things I do like. I do have questions about. That is there anything that confuses you about this movie?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar or not, but many years ago there was a movie kind of similar to this one, but yet not, called Osmosis Jones, where it was a live action animated hybrid, and the animated part obviously took place inside the mind of an old an older character, not really so much like a teenager. And it wasn't really so much like the core emotions, but it just focused on these two characters. One was a cell, and one was like some sort of medication or something. With that being said, I thought this movie worked much better because it was just mostly, well, I shouldn't say mostly, but like the whole movie was animated, so I think a lot of things worked better.
Um, I think the Nostalgia Critic made some sort of joke about those two movies. Um, I don't know if that's really fair to compare Inside Out to Osmosis Jones, because Osmosis Jones was more about the human body, whereas Inside Out is more about the human mind, which are, I think, two completely different things. Like, Osmosis Jones traveled all around like our places, like the stomach, the lungs, the heart, even our little uvulas in our mouths. Whereas Inside Out mostly just takes place in the brain, and I think it's kind of better that they stay in the brain.
Yeah, that would just be super awkward, and it would just be pretty weird if like Pixar made a movie like that, which they don't really need to.
Okay, so now here are a couple things that confuse me about the movie. The movie kind of sets up that basically the five emotion characters are in charge of like controlling Riley. But one thing I've like thinking as I'm watching this, where does Riley's soul fit into this? Like now I know a lot of people are going to get up in arms about this, but if I can explain myself a little bit, while the emotions do control a lot of things, there are some things they don't control. Like they don't control what Riley says, they don't control what her movements, at least most of them. I'm guessing they don't control what she completely thinks all the time. So I'm thinking, where does she fit? Where does the soul fit into this? I like to personally believe that her soul is like the boss and tells the emotions what to do while she runs the other stuff, but they never fully like explain that. Any thoughts on that?
Um, well, this could either be explained if they ever make a sequel to this movie, or yeah, I probably would have to agree. The soul would probably have to be like the quote unquote boss that is basically telling what the motions what to do and that sort of thing.
Yes. Now, here's a more universal confusion that I think uh, more people can agree with me on. And that actually has to do with the five emotion characters. There are five emotions in Riley's head, and not just in Riley's head, in everyone else's head too. There are brief scenes where we cut like into her parents' heads to see what their emotions are going through. And the emotions are, as Courtney said earlier, joy, disgust, anger, fear, and sadness. That's five emotions, one positive emotion, and four negative ones. I don't know about you, but I think humans feel more than just five emotions generally, and I certainly think they feel more than just one positive emotion. Like, wouldn't it have been interesting if they had other positive emotions like love or surprise or contentment? I want to know what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, I think they were trying, like, what the team at Pixar were trying to do is pretty much be general about it, so it's probably easier to write, maybe, for writing purposes.
Yeah, maybe, but obviously, we don't feel just those four emotions in real life, right?
Well, yeah, obviously, but I mean, it was probably easier, like, on them to really limit it to, like, just the main ones, I think, and
I suppose so. But, it still would have been interesting to see like other emotion characters. I'm sure there's fan art of other emotions somewhere. It'd be
yeah,
in.
and actually, you brought up a good point. I forget what I'm trying to think what the name of it was, but on YouTube, actually, someone made a parody of a possible deleted scene from Inside Out, and the deleted scene, while fake, shows different aspects of Riley's puberty or whatever, and I just thought it was kind of interesting.
I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen that yet. Um, but I guess while we are on the subject, let's talk about the characters. Um, and let's actually start with the five emotions. What did you think of those little guys?
I thought each character, each emotion was adorable, and I'm gonna say my favorite of the emotions was sadness, and because I thought she was just like so adorable.
Yeah, she was pretty. Yeah, I liked her too. If I had to pick my favorite emotion, and it's kind of interesting because I normally don't usually feel this emotion, um, mine would probably have to be anger because I got no, I just thought he was probably the funniest, and he's voiced by Louis Black, who is a really funny comedian I like. Especially this one running joke they have where I guess Riley's brain cells send back an old memory of a gum commercial just for
Oh
giggles,
yeah. Hmm.
and Anger doesn't like it very much.
This one will never fade.
The song from the gum commercial.
You know, sometimes we send that one up to headquarters for no reason.
Plays in Riley's head over and over again, like a million times. Let's watch it again.
I know, we all know the song. Okay, yeah, real quick.
Okay, what do you think? Should we do it?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. What the? This again. Need I remind you of how great things were there? Our room, our backyard, our friends.
Triple income.
We'll make you smile.
Did I ask for the gum commercial? Mom's purse.
You wouldn't.
Oh, but I would. Where was it we saw it last?
Triple income.
No!
But yeah, I liked all of the emotions, and I definitely do see some of Pixar's trademarks in a couple of them, mainly with the character of Joy. Because I've noticed that Joy to me was very much like Woody from the Toy Story movies. Because she, like Woody, she's very devoted to the kid, in her case, Riley, and wants to do what she can to make her happy. And I guess when anyone else tries to interfere, she gets a little worried that it might mess things up. In this case, oddly enough, she's kind of passive aggressive, especially towards like sadness. Even if she does mean well, I'm like, okay, this is kind of not cool.
Oh my gosh, leave sadness alone.
But I guess that, it is important that this happens because it does help teach the moral of the film, which, like, without giving anything away, I'll just summarize it. It's okay to feel sad sometimes. But anyway, you think that's a good moral to teach kids?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good moral, honestly.
So yeah, you guys, if you ever feel sad, feel free to feel sad. Your emotions are valid. And speaking of which, what did you think of disgust and fear, the other two?
I Well, actually, fear would have to be, like, my second favorite emotion of the emotions, and, I thought disgust was kind of cute because she's the one who approves all of Riley's tastes and stuff.
Yep, that makes sense. Yeah, I like those two as well. I would have liked to have seen a little more of Disgust, but I think what they do have of her is pretty good. Now let's talk about Bing Bong. What did you think of Bing Bong, Riley's old imaginary friend?
I really enjoyed seeing Bing Bong, like, just seeing him on screen and just interacting with joy and sadness throughout their like little journey, and I adored Bing Bong.
Yeah, I liked him too. I guess everyone who sees it is gonna be like, oh, I wish I had like a friend like this Bing Bong fella. And yeah, we'd talk a little bit more about him, but there are some spoilers involving him, so we probably have to move on. I think the only other characters we can really talk about are, well, the human characters. Let's start with Riley, obviously, since this is all taking place in her head. What'd you think of Riley?
Um, yeah, I enjoyed Riley. I wouldn't say, I've never went through whatever Riley's went through with like moving or whatever, but like her story is relatable, and of course she would feel pretty awkward and out of place in her new environment, and she's just a teenager just trying to like make sense of everything.
Is she a teenager? I thought she was like 12.
Well, like preteen maybe, but
Yeah, um, yeah. So yeah, I thought Riley was pretty good too. I thought she was a very good representation of every child watching the movie, I suppose. If that's a good way of putting it.
yeah, I would think so.
I also liked her parents, because, they're going through a lot of stuff too. I mean, if you think little kids feel like bad about moving from one place to another, adults feel that same pain too. I guess it's why they show the little emotions in their head too.
And funny thing is like you notice like with the dad's mind, anger is the one in control. And then with the mom, you notice that sadness is like the main person in control. So maybe the mom is going through some sort of like depression or something, and maybe like the dad some sort of like anger type issues or something. I don't know.
Well,
That's just a little headcanon thing.
I did see that as well, and you're right. They do control their headquarters. Although on the outside, when you see like them interact and stuff, they don't. It doesn't really come off that way. Like I never really saw Riley's dad as getting angry and aggressive and and kind of scary, and I never saw Riley's mom getting all mopey and upset and submissive. But it I mean I don't know. We don't know for sure. Only the people at Pixar know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I liked all of the characters. And now let's talk about, well, we can't really talk about a Pixar movie without addressing its animation. What did you think?
I love the animation in this movie. Like, Riley's mind, it's actually pretty colorful. I loved like the colors in it, and then of course, with like the real world or whatever, like I liked the character designs and like the backgrounds, and I just liked the animation just overall.
You say she has a colorful mind. I guess that means she has a very colorful personality.
Da 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 da.
Yeah. But yes, no, I agree. Yes, I love seeing the inside of Riley's mind. I like that each part of her personality was like a little island. Like, I guess that's where all of the brain cells and emotions live. Obviously, it's where Bing Bong lives. Um, and what else? Yeah, I also really like the character designs. Like the normal people like us, they look like, well, normal people, but like the little emotions, they look like little cartoon characters that are very heavily exaggerated, and they sort of, I think I like their textures. They sort of look like they're made out of sugar or something. I know they're not, but
I know what you mean.
yeah, they look kind of sparkly and stuff.
I know, especially Joy is like the sparkliest of them all.
Well, that makes sense because she's so joyful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I love the way this movie looks. Oh yeah, and of course, Bing Bong had a great design too. Obviously, he's part elephant and part cat. They also say he's part dolphin, but obviously he doesn't look very dolphin-esque. And he's,
Except for like the noise he makes.
yeah. Um, and they say he's also made out of cotton candy. And if you look closely, yes, he really is made out of cotton candy.
Antichrist candy.
Yes. Yes, so Bing Bong looked great. And yeah, I think we said what we could say about uh, Pixar's animation. I guess we can bring up this one little tidbit. Um, Back in the 1980s, when they were first like getting their feet on the ground and did shorts, they did a short called Tin Toy, which featured like a human baby. It does not hold up very well. But when you
No.
but when you compare it to like, but if you look at the baby, like there's a brief scene where we see Riley as a baby. It looks amazing. They've certain
Well, yeah, and you have to figure technology has evolved since the 80s.
Yes, that's what
And
I'm getting at. They have certainly improved their act, like in all those years. So good job, Pixar. Good job for stepping up your game. Let's hope you keep up the good work. Hopefully, Good Dinosaur will be just as good.
yeah, I can't wait to see that movie.
It should be coming out soon.
Yay!
So anyway, I guess that's really all we can say about this movie. Want to give your final thoughts?
Yes, overall, I give this a thumbs up, and I loved, the characters, I loved the animation, the plot was pretty original, and, I just recommend it to anyone, really.
Yes. And despite what I said earlier about the things that might be confusing, I also give this a thumbs up as well. It's a very, and yes, this is intentional, emotional movie that'll really get you to start feeling like things, and all the characters are very good, and the animation looks beautiful as always, and I recommend it pretty much to everybody. And hopefully they do have a sequel so that they can introduce more emotions and maybe bring Riley's soul into this. And maybe here's something clever. Maybe they can introduce bad guys in the sequel, like inner demons, like insecurity and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that would actually be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and they can actually look like little demons. Anyway, so I guess, oh yes, before I forget, yes, another good thing about it has an excellent moral that it's okay to feel sad sometimes. Actually, it's okay to feel any emotion you feel. So I guess to conclude, all we can say is go feel whatever it is you feel. If you enjoyed this video, let me know how happy it made you. And if it made you angry because of my boring voice, let me know. If it made you feel sad for whatever reason, I hope you feel better. If it made you scared, am I really that scary? And if it made you disgusted, I'm terribly sorry. Anyway, I'm rambling. This is Danny here saying I am awesome. So are you. Courtney is especially awesome for joining me today.
And you're awesome too, Danny. This is Courtney signing out.
Now here's a little bit from how it should have ended. Enjoy.
My dad says I'll have my own room in San Francisco. And there's hockey and pizza and lots of great, Riley? Sorry, brain fart.
Oh no.
Stay calm. It's gonna be okay, everybody.
I think I'm gonna be sick.